This is not another video about a well-known economist explaining why the whole financial system will collapse and how you will lose everything you own. This video is about a growing problem we all know about, where the solution has three possible outcomes. We will either face a huge financial collapse, a reform of the whole economic system, or both. And just to mention, this video is not made by a doomsday prophet. This will be the reality. Let me explain. It doesn't matter how old you are or where you come from. In the last decades, you have been fed up by the media with expressions like climate crisis or ecological crisis. You're probably sick of being told to reduce your consumption or to make climate-friendly choices. I'm not here to tell you to exchange your car for a bicycle or start to produce your own food. I'm here to explain how today's economic system will not be able to deal with the problems of tomorrow. So, how does today's economic system work? Today, we have what we call shareholder capitalism. Companies chase lower costs and increased revenue. This is what we call profit maximizing. And why do companies profit maximize? Well, that is because the whole point of a company in the first place is to create as much value as possible for its shareholders. Imagine owning a significant share of a business. Of course, you want that business to grow and maximize their profits so you can get as much money back as dividends. But why is this so obvious? The fundamentals of shareholder capitalism are actually you and I. It's in our genes how we want to maximize our utility. We want to have more of the good things in life and less of the bad things. The problem is that our utility changes over time. And in a finite world, it's impossible to maximize our utility without being egocentric. In addition, social media raises the standards of our utility. How can you be satisfied with a one-car garage when you daily watch short-form content of people bragging all about their 33 supercars? While our needs for higher utility grows, the world doesn't. To quote David Attenborough, someone who believes in infinite growth is either a madman or an economist. But the thought of zero economic growth seems problematic, right? And it is in an underdeveloped economy. But in developed countries, the economic growth can't go on forever. The profits can't get higher and higher. It will reach a point where the growth will decline. And in many countries, we have already passed the point where the economic growth should have declined. But what happens? We find new ways to produce more at lower costs. This makes it possible for consumers to consume more and more. Companies design their products to have a shorter lifespan, so they can increase their sales, again, to increase their profits. And this could work in a non-finite world. If the Earth had an infinite amount of resources, we could produce an infinite number of products. And when the product's lifespan was over, you could throw it away and buy a brand new one. But since the world has limited resources, economic growth can't go on forever. Even though the climate and ecological crisis seem far ahead, we have already passed a critical point. We can in fact illustrate this with a measure of ecological footprint called global hectare, GHA. To compare, the Earth's capacity is 1.7 global hectares per person. Today, the Earth's population consumes on average 2.8 global hectares per person, where an average American consumes more than 8 global hectares per person. Even though we don't necessarily see or feel the consequences of this today, we are slowly but surely breaking down our ecological system. And since economic growth increases our consumption, all this can be summed up in one simple sentence. Infinite economic growth is not compatible with the world's ecological framework conditions. But how can this lead to a financial collapse, you may ask? We already see megatrends of green solutions, sustainability, and climate-friendly options in today's businesses. Many businesses are trying to replace their linear value chain with a circular value chain. The problem is that most businesses are not, nor cannot be, fully circular. A large share of today's businesses find creative ways to call themselves a green alternative, only to increase their competitiveness and therefore sell more. To change this, we need to rethink our entire economic system. We need a system that is not based on competition, materialism, and strategic rationality, but an economic system based on cooperation, idealism, and redistribution. And unless we see revolutionary new technology, this will be the reality sooner or later. The economic system will go through radical changes. It's hard to imagine what the future's economic system will look like, and the changes will probably not happen in the foreseeable future. The ecological consequences of today's economic system are impossible to not see. Humans tend to ignore problems until they are impossible to ignore. This is where the financial instability comes into play. There will be demanded radical changes, and they will happen quickly. Businesses that cannot be defended ecologically will not survive. This can cause major financial instability, and a scenario with a huge financial collapse cannot be excluded. We can't say for sure that this will happen, but today's economic system is not built for our future children and grandchildren. It's built to maximize our needs in the short term. We can't say with certainty whether or not the financial system will collapse, nor if the economic system will go through radical changes. But we do know that it's important to challenge our current economic models, because an economy is, after all, a social science, which means we can't know anything for sure. Thank you for watching this video. What do you think the economic system of tomorrow will look like?